Okay, so I'm going to show you how I make water kefir. So this is a finished quart of my water kefir. You can see a little fruit floating around in there, so that's good. So I'm going to show you how I make that. So to start with, we have all of our inventory of stuff. So I'm going to go through it real quick with you so that you can start off with the right things. So first I've got 4 quart jars. You can see those right there. Of their end lids. I use 4 because I make 4 quarts of kefir. And I've got my water kefir grains in there, water, and I use this this lid. This is a sprouting lid. It just fits on the wide mouth quart jars. And I've got my sugar. So the kefir grains, that's what they use to make their good probiotics. Now the sugar I use is, I just get this from Aldi. It's just a Morena pure cane sugar. So I use that, and that's what's in here. And then I have my fruit. I've got frozen strawberries here. And I also use some raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. I like to use frozen because they're typically, if they're frozen, they're picked ripe instead of being fresh, quote, when they pick unripe and then they ripen them along the way. And then I've got here some trace minerals. These trace minerals are good because we have a water filter that's a reverse osmosis, and so it pulls everything out of the water. And these little guys, they've got to have some minerals to do their work. So let's go ahead and get started. So to start with, I'm just going to pour the kefir into an empty jar. I'm going to do this for all 4 of them. And then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I've poured all of the water kefir out of the jars and put them in the empty quart jars. So now you have 4 jars of water kefir and 4 jars of grains. Before I do anything with the grains, I'm going to go ahead and add the fruit to this. So all I do is take, move the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing over here. So I just take about a spoonful of strawberries, which is about 1 to 2 whole strawberries, I guess, per jar. Okay, so there's my strawberries, and then I put some raspberries or blueberries, blackberries, about a spoonful, maybe a little bit more in each one, depending on what your flavoring is. I mean, I'll show you on that one I just had out. There's not a whole lot of fruit needed to give it a good fruit flavor. So here you can see basically what I've just got. Just need a little bit, and you can see in this jar here, there's not a whole lot of fruit in there. It swells up after it soaks in the kefir, and so all right. So now I'll go ahead and cap these. They're done. They're ready for their second fermentation. Some people like to drink the kefir straight like this. It's not bad. I just like it a little flavored. You can do other things to flavor it, I guess. But I'd like to do a second fermentation on my kefir grain. So tighten the lids pretty good because they're going to build up some carbon dioxide in there as they go ahead and eat the fruit or the sugar from the fruit. So I tighten those pretty well. And then I will just put these in a cabinet and let them sit for 24 hours. And about 24 hours, they will be done. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and feed the kefir grains and get another batch of water kefir brewing. So take these lids off. And when you're taking the lids off, be sure to look at the underneath, because sometimes, sometimes you get little grains that are stuck on there. So just tap them off there. And then I like to wash these, because sometimes the sugar water will splash up on them and make them a little sticky, and they stick to the sides of the jar. So that helps clean them off. So what I also like to do here is wash around the rim. So I'll use cool water. You don't want to shock the grains. And we'll wash around the outside. If some water gets on the inside, that's okay. Clean the lip of the jar like that, just to get any, sometimes some it's kind of like mother of, when you get apple cider vinegar, that brown stuff's in the bottom of it. It will kind of form sometimes around the top of the kefir jar, and so I'll wash that off, get that off the jar real quick. It doesn't do any bad. Some people may like to eat it and keep it in there. So, all right. So now we have our jars done. So we're gonna add some sugar. Now these are 4-quart jars. They're 4 quarts all the way to the lip. So I only fill the water up about that much. There's really only 3.5 cups in here. So I do 1 tablespoon of sugar per cup of water. So I got 2, 3, and about 1/2. So I'll go ahead and do that for the rest of these. All right, so we fed the kefir. We've got sugar down in there with them. So now we're just gonna fill it up with water. Now I said that I make dairy kefir as well. And I tell people that water kefir is not nearly as high maintenance as dairy kefir is, because it's so simple and easy to make. So you can see there, I've got water and the kefir grains, and the sugar will get mixed up in there, and they're gonna love it. And I typically let my water kefir ferment for about 2 days. You can tell it's done because of the odor. So what you do is, a good practice is to, after you fill them up with water, take a smell. They shouldn't really have an odor because it's just water. And so if you smell it after 24 hours, you generally, depending on how many grains you have in your jar, you shouldn't have a smell. Sometimes I'll even go 3 days, but you can tell if it's done because when you smell it, it'll have a little bit of a vinegary smell. That means it's fermenting. Some people, like Jessica, my wife, she likes to have her kefir a little more vinegary, so sometimes I'll leave it for 3 days, but typically 24 or 48 hours. Now, trace minerals. Now, depending on the potency of the trace minerals that you get, you want to put in, more or less, but what I typically do is about 5 or 6 drops of the trace minerals, 3, 4, 5, and get that in there. And then, where's my lids? What I will do, is just cap them and put them in a cabinet, just out of, I can leave them out of the light, in the dark, warm area, and come back and they'll be done in 24, 48 hours, depending on how you like it. And hope you enjoyed, and hope you enjoy your kefir.